Welcome back, guys, to the latest instalment of the Property Hub vlog series. Today, we're going to talk about how you get started on a transaction, what you can do to make your life easier as a client. As always, we've got Charles from Lionheart Mortgage Solutions, Jamie from Taylor Walsh Estate Agents, and myself, Philip, from Goththorne Solicitors. When you're getting started on a property transaction or you're looking to buy and sell, it's always a numbers game to begin with. So that's where a good mortgage broker will come in. Luckily, we have one here with us today. Charles, you've got a new client. Don't look surprised, that's you. You've got a new client coming to you, wanting to move house. Where do you start with them to start looking at their budget?
Yeah, thank you, Phil. So it's a fun process, and mortgages do sound boring quite often, but they're not to me anyway. I am biased, I appreciate. But first of all, what you can afford to buy at is the most important question everyone wants to know. In terms of where we start, initial phone call conversation, go through some high level, basic criteria, any concerns you might have as a potential purchaser, for example, as well. We'll then be able to go from there where we take the next steps and how we get you out shopping, really. So first of all, following that first chat, documents are really important to assess, what we have to work with. Going through what your budget will be to go and spend, depending on if you're doing help to buy, share ownership, or buying outright, that can vary. What it will cost you monthly, of course, as well. Now, before that, getting an agreement in principle is often advised. We're seeing more and more agents asking for it nowadays, based on the fact that the market, of course, has been a little bit challenging recently in terms of mortgages. Much more back to normal now, but having that in your pocket when you go and view will give you a much better chance, I think, of securing somewhere.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one big mistake a lot of people make is they go out house hunting before they've actually sold their property or even put their property on the market. So the biggest thing for us is we get lots and lots of calls from people wanting to go and view houses, what have you. And when we ask what position they're in, they're fighting against first-time buyers, or they're fighting against people that are doing buy-to-lets on their houses, or just ready to proceed in general or in rented. If your house isn't on the market yet, or you haven't even got an idea of what your house is actually worth, you don't really know what you can actually afford to buy. You may think that your house is worth, say, £400,000, when actually it might be worth 450 or 350. So you may be able to spend more money and offer that little bit more to get the better property, or to be able to win if you're in a bidding war of some sort. Or you may be actually looking at the wrong type of properties altogether, what you can afford, if your budget is actually around the 350 mark, because your equity isn't as much as you thought it was, which is why it's so important to have the valuation done on your home and then speak to someone like Charles, ideally Charles, to make sure that you can get the right property for the money that you've got to spend. So our main thing is, if you're looking to move, speak to the guys to find out what you can actually afford, and then actually work out what we've got value-wise in your property to go on with, which I think is probably the best thing, isn't it, really? I mean, because we get so many people say to us, we're looking to spend this much money, but actually the equity in their home isn't as much as they thought it was. Recently, what we've found as well recently is a lot of people that are doing the help to buy in the last 4 or 5 years are now paying those off as well. And what a lot of people don't realise with the help to buy is that you pay off 20% of the value of your home now, not what it was when you bought it. So a lot of people that we're speaking to think that they've got £60,000 profit or something, but actually it could be £45,000 profit or £50,000 profit, because they're actually paying back the help to buy more than they thought they were. So I don't know if you've come across that, or what your advice would be to people on that. Is it better to pay it off sooner, or is it worth keeping it for the 5 years, 10 years? For me as an agent, I would say to people, ideally on year 5, you would go and do a remortgage, then hope you've got enough equity in the property to pay it off.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Is that something that the lawyers would charge for as well? Would you need a lawyer to do this?
Do you want to take your bit first?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, so anytime you do anything with help to buy, generally they require that you have a lawyer representing you, because obviously the arrangements with how they secure their money against your property and such can be quite complex. Luckily, Help to Buy do have quite a clear set procedure, so they try and make it as easy as possible for clients. You'll speak to Help to Buy first, tell them what you want to do. So in this case, if it was repaying off, the loan that you've got, they have a small admin fee. They charge you to start the process. That goes to Help to Buy. Then you appoint your lawyer, and then that's when we can get started. Now, obviously, the source of how you're paying that off, be it through cash, obviously not many people go that route, or with the more common route of refinancing it, will be implemented by your lawyer once you get started, once you've got that funding in place, which is where obviously Charles will assist you. So we will always be involved in that. Anything you do with Help to Buy, putting on your property, selling it at the end, paying it off, amending it. We will always be involved to help make life easier for the clients.
Yeah, and mortgage-wise, as you rightly say, the 5 years is kind of that golden period where you're not paying any interest for that first 5 year period. So ideally, you want it paid off at the end of that. It's a nice luxury to be able to do it in that time frame, and not everyone gets to that point. Property values do affect it as well. It's important to note you pay back 20% of what the property is worth now, not what you borrowed originally. Therefore, it can have an effect either positively or negatively. Of course, if the house has gone up by £100,000, that'll cost £20,000 to help to buy, but you've still made 80. So that increase in value gives you more scope to raise more against your mortgage and pay it back. Essentially, I think what we're learning is we need to have a team in your corner, don't you, to make sure you've got all 3 angles covered off.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a few friends recently, mine personally, have got 4-bedroom detached homes. One of them's got it on a help to buy, and they've gone and put a big extension on their house. How's that going to affect them when they come to remortgage or pay the help to buy off in 2 years' time? Will it be valued at the new level when the house is probably worth £100,000 more now with this extension? Is help to buy going to benefit from that, or will they not take that into consideration? Do we know?
There's pros and cons to it, to be honest with you. So, of course, the house is worth more. That's always going to be a good thing for the person that owns it anyway. But essentially, that's given them more scope to raise against the asset because they've got more capital in there that they can then use. But on the downside of that, because they've done it before Help to Buy back, they'll pay 20% of that value that they've increased it by to Help to Buy as well. So, if you're going to be ideal world and the money is in there without the extension, you want to raise it and pay it off and then improve the value. We've seen share ownerships as well, exactly the same thing. People will buy share ownership, they'll put a new kitchen or a new bathroom in. We have seen rare examples where associations have allowed an allowance, for example, or adjusted the price in a rather complicated manner to offset that. But normally the answer we get back, or not necessarily us, but the owners get back, is thanks for doing the hard work, we really appreciate it.
We've seen this,
so it's about being careful, and this is where you start talking features and fittings, for example, and other options that are discussed regularly too.
And shared ownership is probably a good thing to talk about as well, because since Help to Buy scheme came along, we've seen a big, not a massive dip, but a lot of the flats and things for shared ownerships used to be a huge demand for them, and people would pay massive premiums, or they'd ask for big premiums anyway. What we're finding at the moment is with the Help to Buy, it's allow people to get the house they want without the extra rent and things like that. Is that the end of shared ownerships as we know it? Is that, is this the Help to Buy going to continue, do we think? There's a lot of kind of grey areas around this, and people buying shared ownerships are now kind of like, do I do the Help to Buy instead? Do I buy the shared ownership? Is the Help to Buy going to finish and I'm stuck without a property in 5 years' time? If I can't afford to remortgage, I have to sell it, and then there's no shared ownerships available. What's your thoughts on that, guys?
Absolutely. I mean, the question is always, it was always an affordability question. So obviously you've got shared ownership was introduced ages and ages ago as an affordability option, allowing people to get onto the market with a very small slice of a property, as low as 10%, you see sometimes, more commonly kind of around the 20-25% mark. There will always be a spot for that because it's important to have access to the end of the market. Now, Help to Buy, don't forget, is only available on new build homes, or it has been at least. So not everyone wants to buy a new house. A new house comes with its own set of pros and cons. Shared ownership is, you can have normal second-hand houses, stuff like that. Don't forget with shared ownership as well, you always have the right to buy further shares, which is, I think, something a lot of people forget. The goal would be is to buy in at 25%. Over time you can go to 50 and 100%, and then you own the house in its entirety. So I think the two formats, whilst they both achieve the same goal of making
allowing people to get on the market,
allowing people to get on the ladder, they're distinct enough that there's pros and cons to both, and ultimately you pick something that fits you as an individual, as a client, and what you're looking to achieve. So I think they'll both be about for a little while yet.
Yeah, it's budget dictated is the most, as you touched on yourself. Share ownership will allow you to buy for a lower price than Help to Buy. Often with new builds, they're not suiting people's criteria due to location, or due to the price, or due to the size of whatever it may be that the concern is of them. Help to Buy also is time limited. It's available 2023, keep back in, where share ownership has not got an end date on it, certainly currently. If anything, they're pushing more and more and more of it. Government are insisting new build sites have a percentage of the site go share ownership, for example. We're seeing more and more associations doing it. If you think 20 years ago, we knew of Guinness. Nowadays you've got Guinness, you've got Paradigm, you've got Hightown Homes, you've got Grand Union Housing. There's L&Q, there's dozens I could name in Milton Keynes alone, let alone further afield. But they are, I think it's horses for courses, to be honest. Very, very, very irregularly, we'll see someone looking at both options at the same time. It falls down to share ownership or Help to Buy or outright. But ideally what we see is they're stepping stones to get to the house being outright, whether you buy more shares, whether you pay off Help to Buy, or whether you buy outright when you sell and move on.
It's worked wonders, isn't it, for people in general? It's worked wonders for people to get on the market.
It's nice for you to have options.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. So we think both of them, great options for people. It suits them individually. Great options.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great
Absolutely.
options.
So,
Cool.
I mean, they have a bit of a discourse, a bit of a Property Hub chat about, a few different things there. We hope that you guys have found it useful as ever. Let us know, as always, what you want to see, what you want us to talk about. We can talk forever, as I'm sure you can probably see. I don't know how long this video is. No doubt we'll be told off by the producer in the background. But let us know down below what you want to see, and we look forward to speaking to you guys next time.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Take care.
guys.
Cheers.
Bye.